All right, give me some hearts if you guys can hear me. You guys should be able to hear me all right. Give me a couple hearts if you guys can hear me. Please. TikTok especially. Looks like nobody's on Facebook quite yet. Give me some hearts if you guys can hear me, please. Please. A couple hearts. All right, awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay, we're going to talk for just a few minutes here. We're in Washington, D.C. We're at the Capitol. Facebook looks like you guys are going to have some problems. Yep. Okay, so we're only going to be on TikTok today. All right, guys, share if you guys can, so we can get some other people here. So, again, I came on this morning. I talked to you guys about the current situation, right? I talked to you guys about where we're at, how we're going to move forward. One thing is that as I said the last time I was here in DC when I left, guys, just a few weeks ago, I said that one of the next things that we're going to do is we're going to start to get you guys involved, right? And it's really important that you guys get involved now because we got a whole bottom, the whole foundation that needs to get reconstructed, make it so that it's ready to collapse. Guys, I've done the top, right? I've done the states, I've done the federal government. We built the top so that it's ready to collapse. Do the same thing down at the bottom because it's really important that we make that happen now because as we reconstruct this justice, this temple of justice ready to collapse, the foundation has to get ready, has to get built. So we're going to get those videos out. As I said before, there's things that I need you guys to know when you go out and actually provide the service on your county, such as what happens when they don't want to accept the service, what happens when they don't take the paperwork from you, what is it that you got to do. So there's some things that we need to work through, but that is exactly what we're ready to do and what we're going to start doing. So we're going to get all this uploaded to our website. We've got a couple other websites that are ready to connect to mine as well. And so what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? Well, you guys know this institution behind me right here, right? United States Congress. Guys, I've sat and I've talked with these congressmen a number of times. You guys are fine. I've talked to United States congressmen. One of the last ones I did was Congress or Senator Mark Wayne from Oklahoma. And when I spoke with Senator Mark Wayne, I sat with his chief counsel, right? This is his agent, his agent. And I said to him, listen, the state of Oklahoma has enacted a provision in its inferior constitution that functions directly to the contrary of the United States Constitution, right? And it's depriving his own constituents of fundamental rights that are guaranteed to them by the Constitution of the United States of America. And you know what that senior counsel said to me? He said, yeah, but that's a state issue. That's not a federal issue. That's a state issue. And I said to him, no, it's not. When a state enacts its own alternative legislation substituted for a guarantees the Constitution, that's not a state issue. That's a federal issue. This is a federal constitutional right that's being abridged by the state of Oklahoma in an inferior state constitutional provision. And that's not a right. That's not okay. It's not constitutional. States don't have the authority to enact their own alternative legislation substituted for the guarantees of the Constitution and then go out and enforce them through one of their agents. They can't do that. That would mean the state laws are more powerful than the Constitution of the United States of America. And that's simply not the case. We know that to be true, right? So what we're doing here is we're letting the states know that you do not have the authority to enact your own laws that are contrary to the Constitution and then direct your agents to go out and enforce those laws because that would be unconstitutional. And what you're producing is going to be unconstitutional. Today, there's more than 700,000 people across America that are illegally and unconstitutionally imprisoned in a for-profit business for the direct benefit of the state. A business that we would call a sweatshop in China, but a prison here in America. And we need to make sure that we correct this, that we get our brothers and sisters back home so we can get them the love and support they need, and so we can get America out of the slavery institution once and for all. That's what we're doing, guys. But it starts with this issue of the indictment, right? because I know that a lot of you don't believe me when I say I'm fighting for the family. I know that a lot of you don't believe me when you say that I'm not fighting against CPS. I am absolutely doing it. But as I explained this morning, right, as I explained this morning, that we have to go with an enumerated constitutional right. It must be written within the Bill of Rights in order for us to be able to challenge it, because an incorporated a right is not the same as an enumerated right. Clause 1 of Amendment 5 says no person shall be held to answer for capital or otherwise if prescribed unless on presentment or indictment of grand jury. That's enumerated within the Bill of Rights. That can't be interfered with by a state, right? And yet it is. 13 states across the country right now today that do not conduct a grand jury, despite the fact that it's required by the Constitution for the United States of America. Not just that, but there's another 28 states that permit their prosecuting attorneys to charge by information or indictment by their discretion. Guys, that's not constitutional either, because a constitutional obligation must be performed. It can never be discretionary, because that would be an abuse of discretion to break the law, right? So you can't permit discretion to be used with regard to one's obligations. This has already been long litigated. Supreme Court has already made this decision a long time ago. With regard to one's obligations, it cannot be discretionary, nor can it be delegatable. So, these states that are permitting their prosecuting attorney to decide who's going to get a constitutional right and who's not, well, guess what? Those are also unconstitutional. Mr. Stitt of Oklahoma, right? Those are still unconstitutional. Mr. Yost of Ohio. So, we need to understand that what's happening is unconstitutional. It derives from an unconstitutional act, an unconstitutional law created by a state that has no authority to be able to take such action and direct their agents to act in an unlawful, unconstitutional manner. You guys know what an emolument violation is, right? Government can never create a law that directs someone to break the law, right? So all these statutes, all these Washington, right? All these inferior state constitutions, they're all unconstitutional, you guys. And if you take away anything that I say from any one of these lives, these discussions, if you take away anything from me, take away this right here, that anything that is not the Constitution is unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional simply by virtue of the fact that it's not the Constitution. This is the point that I've been trying to make. This is what that DOJ memo is all about, the one that went out to Grassley, that all of these laws created by these states are all fucking unconstitutional because they all derive from an unconstitutional act, because the only thing that is constitutional is the Constitution for the United States of America. Everything else is unconstitutional simply by virtue of the fact that it is not the Constitution. So again, I showed up at Mr. Mark Wayne's office, just right over here. And I said to his senior counsel, I said, oh, no, this is not a state issue. This is a federal issue. When a state chooses to create a law that abridges the federal Constitution, that's not a state issue. That's a federal issue. And he said, yeah, but we abstain. We don't get involved in state issues. And so now I had to take it to a whole new level, right? Because you can't say to me that you're not going to get involved in this, because guess what? That is Congressman or Senator Mark Wayne's duty and responsibility as a separation of powers. Congress is the only entity of government that can alter or amend the Constitution of the United States. They can't do it personally. It has to be done by authentic act of people, but it is initiated by an act of Congress, is it not? Right? Read Article 5, Special Amendment Procedure. So once 2/3 of both House and Senate approve an amendment, then it goes out to the states for ratification. Once 3/4 of the states approve it, it becomes part of the Constitution in all intents and purposes. That's the way you change the Constitution. So it can't come by way of judicial fiat. Judges don't have the authority to amend the Constitution because they're obligated to perform the Constitution, right? So the states don't have the right to amend the Constitution because they're subject to the Constitution. So the only entity of government that can amend the Constitution of the United States of America is the legislative branch. That's the only one. Therefore, if anyone acts outside of their lawful authority and thus attempts to amend the Constitution other than lawful manner, remember, guys, sedition is defined as the speaking or writing of words, such as law established, in order to cause disaffection of the Constitution to procure its alteration in other than lawful manner. If you attempt to change the Constitution in any manner other than what is prescribed, what you produce is seditious. And you then are also a traitor to this country because you're not being loyal to that which your fidelity is bound, right? When you take an oath, public officials, you swear you're going to do certain things, primarily that you're going to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. So when you fail to do so, That is a treasonous act. And what you produce is going to be sedition. So when the United States Supreme Court comes out and says, you know what, we don't have to do what the Constitution says we have to do, such as they did in 1887 under Hurtado versus California, when they said that these states don't have to have an indictment by a grand jury consistent with Clause 1, Amendment 5. And then they made that ruling a law by calling it case law. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, judges, you don't get to create law. What you've done is unconstitutional. What you've done is seditious, and you're now a traitor to this country. Chief Justice Marshall, Chief Justice Waite, Chief Justice Taney, you're all traitors, man. And I have no problem saying that because it's the truth, right? If it weren't the truth, then would they be coming out here and arresting me? They know exactly where I'm at right now. I mean, I'm sitting in front of the Capitol at the Grant Memorial. You guys got a problem with the things I'm saying? Come and get me. You know exactly where I'm at. I'll be here for another hour. All right? So Mr. Mark Wayne, he says to me that they don't have to that they abstain. They don't have to get involved in state issues. And I said, oh no, that's not true. Let me tell you what is the truth. All right, the 14th Amendment. And I'm not going to go into whether or not the 14th Amendment is valid, whether it was ratified. We're not going to go there. I've already hit that enough. I've already told you guys we win either way. So don't worry about whether it was ratified or not. Don't argue with me on whether it was ratified or not. We're moving under the presumption that it was ratified because we have a very clear-cut argument for that. But if it wasn't ratified, guess what, you guys? If it wasn't ratified, then Hurtado versus California is void because that decision derives from relying upon the 14th Amendment. We win either way, you guys. Either way, it doesn't matter. All right. But when you say to me that it's not your responsibility, I'm going to say to you, Mr. Mark Wayne, here's the problem with that. Okay. The final provision of the 14th Amendment says Congress shall have the power to enforce this article. Guys, listen to what I just said. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article, referring to the 14th article. And what does that mean? Huh? Go and look it up, guys. Go and look at it. In fact, Congress has the power to enforce the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, right? They have the power to enforce it. Well, who normally enforces the law? Well, that would be the executive branch, right? Right over here, the White House. That would be the executive branch. The executive branch normally enforces the law unless it's a violation of the 14th Amendment. If it's a violation of the 14th Amendment, guess what? These assholes behind me right here, they're the ones constitutionally obligated to enforce the law. Transfer of enforcement transfers over to these guys if it's a violation of the 14th Amendment. Why? Because they're responsible for the Constitution. That's their separation of powers. If the executive branch steps up and decides to write policy and then go out and enforce it as though it's laws, these guys have to enforce that. They have to say, oh, no, that's unconstitutional, executive branch. You don't get to do that shit, right? They're obligated by constitutional obligation codified in the 14th Amendment that they must enforce that issue. But likewise, if the judicial branch decides that they're going to create a ruling that amends the Constitution of the United States that they erroneously and unconstitutionally called law, these assholes right here are responsible for enforcing that issue because that's their duty and responsibility. Constitution is their responsibility and no one else's. So, Mr. Mark Wayne, when you say to me that you don't have the power to do anything about this, that you must abstain from state issues, I'm going to say to you, you're not fulfilling your constitutional obligation, sir. You're bridging your constitutional duties, and as a result, man, what you're doing is unconstitutional. You don't have the right to be able to say, I'm not going to address this issue, Mr. Mark Wayne, Mr. Peters, Miss Murray, Miss Cantwell, right? Mr. Cruz, any one of these other ones I've talked to. None of you can say that this isn't your responsibility, that there's nothing you can do about it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, not only is there something you can do about it, but you're constitutionally obligated to do something about it. So when you don't do something about it, you just committed perjury. Whether you know it or not is irrelevant. You have an obligation, senators. You have an obligation, congressmen, to deal with this issue because the Constitution is your scope and your separation power. That is what you deal with. You deal with legislation. And when another branch of government or another entity of government decides that they're going to legislate, you guys need to step up and say, you know what? I'm not going to permit you to do something you're not able to do, right? I'm not going to step up. I'm not going to let you do something that is my duty, my responsibility. And if you don't have the balls to do that, Mr. Mark Wayne, you don't have the balls to do that, Mr. Peters, you don't have the balls to do that, Mr. Cruz or Miss Murray, or if you don't have the balls to do it, then maybe you need to step down, find another job, because maybe this isn't the right position for you. Maybe you're not in the right line of business, because cowards shouldn't be leaders, and leaders certainly aren't cowards. But you guys are all cowards right now today. You guys aren't doing your job. We've asked you to step up. We've asked you to do it, and you're not doing it. So I'm going to say to you that maybe you need to find a different line of business, because this probably isn't the business that you need to be in. So these guys right here, right? They're responsible for dealing with this issue. And you guys, that's the reason why I went out and I served 2/3 of these states, right? You guys, I have a purpose in everything I do. Everything I do is with a purpose, right? I said I was going to get out and I was going to serve 32 states, right? Y'all know that. I went and I did serve 32 states. Why? Because Washington State made 33. And what is 2/3 of 50? It'd be 33. So we had to get 33 states on notice in order to bypass these assholes if they decide that they're not going to do anything about this. So we can enact our own constitutional convention, so we can step up and say, is this really the world that we want to live in? Is this really what we had envisioned? Because we can bypass the legislature. The legislature has no authority whatsoever when they're actually criminally. We can get past them. We've already done that. When I served 2/3 of both houses of all the states, we bypassed them, and we can now do what we need to do to fix this problem. If these dumbasses behind me here, if they don't step up and do something, if they're too big of cowards to actually do something, then that's fine. We don't need you anymore. So one thing that a lot of people have been asking me. So Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, all these founders, all the founders of our country, they all believed one thing, right? And what they believed was they believed that when government fails to give us the rights, when they fail to defend our rights, that we have the right to be able to reclaim our original liberty and restore our rights. And a lot of people ask me, well, how does that work, or what does that look like? And I've never really been able to explain this until just recently. In fact, it was just the other day I was up in New Hampshire with my brother Dakota, sitting in his living room, and we were talking about just this issue. And I explained to him how we restore these rights. I want to try to explain it to you guys. Hopefully this will make sense. Hopefully you guys will like it. But I had never explained this until that day when he asked me that question. And then it came out. And when it came out, I was like, oh my God, that's it. Like, that's how it works. So Articles 1, 2, and 3, those establish the duties of government. Article 1 is these guys behind me here, the legislative branch. Article 2 is the executive branch. Article 3 is the judicial branch. Those define the duties and responsibilities of our government, right? Now, here's the problem. Mr. Mark Wayne, Mr. Peters, Mr. Cruz, Miss Murray, Miss Cantwell, all you senators, here's the problem. If you don't step up and defend Article 1, your institution right here is gone. Because the only thing that makes your institution an institution is Article 1. Which means that by your failure to take action, Mr. Mark Wayne, by you ceding your power back to the states and allowing them to be more powerful than you are, Mr. Mark Wayne, Mr. Peters, by doing that, guess what? The people just reclaim their power. They just took back their power because you don't have the courage, the fortitude, the honor, the integrity to actually do what you're obligated to do and defend Article 1, Mr. Mark Wayne. So when you fail to do so, when you fail to exercise your power, when you fail to exercise your supremacy, right, and fail to defend Article 1, then in failing to do so, what you've done is you've sent your power back to states, and now the people can reclaim those original liberties, those original rights, because you didn't have the courage to do it. You have an obligation to defend Article 1, all you congressmen, all you senators. If you guys don't have the courage to do that, right? If you don't have the courage, then guess what? You will have just given your power back to the states. And the states are able to reclaim that power once again, because Article 1 doesn't exist anymore unless you do your job, and it's important to defend it. So if you want this building behind me to continue to exist, Mr. Mark Wayne, Mr. Peters, all the rest of you weak cowards, right? Then you might want to step up and you might want to do something about it. You might want to start asserting the supremacy of the Constitution of the United States and saying, oh no, states, you don't have the authority to do this because Article 1 limits your power. And if you're not willing to do that, guys, then this institution We just need to dismantle it brick by brick because this whole 10 square miles here doesn't exist anymore because you guys don't have the courage to be able to stand up and defend the one thing that you were instituted to stand up and preserve, protect, defend. All right. So now let's go to the executive branch, right? Mr. President of the United States, you know what your job is, right? Your job is to enforce the law. And that means enforce it against anybody who's breaking it. So if you don't have the courage to step up and arrest those that are abridging their obligation, that are destroying the Constitution of the United States, if you don't have the courage to actually make arrests on judges when you're constituted and obligated to do so, then by your failure to defend the very powers that you've been delegated by the people, those powers will return to the people and they will be able to restore their original liberty. That's how that works, Mr. President, right? So your oath is that you will ensure the faithful execution of the laws, Mr. President. Faithful execution. Every one of these people in this building here all have a faithful duty because of an oath that they took to be faithful to the Constitution of the United States. That means that if you are going to ensure the faithful execution of laws, then your job is to arrest people who are failing to be faithful to our laws, Mr. President. That's your job. That's your duty. That's your role within our system. And if you're unwilling to do that, or if you're too scared to do that, then I'm going to say that by your failure to defend the Constitution, by your failure to defend Article 2, by your failure to fulfill the duty that you have by going out and performing arrests against criminals and traitors to this country, if you're unwilling to do that, then by your failure to take action, you will have returned your power back to the states, and the states will have reclaimed such power. Because you will no longer have power if you don't defend Article 2. Article 3, guys. That's this judicial branch. Just on the other side of this building right here. United States Supreme Court. The only reason why that court exists is because of Article 3. That's the only reason, right? So if that court fails to do and to defend Article 3, if those justices in that building don't step up and make sure that their agents actually follow the laws that they must obey, if they're unwilling to step up and assert their supremacy and tell all these courts across the country that, no, you work for us, right? We are the Supreme Court, and our edict comes out to all of you, and you must obey our edict. If you're unwilling to do that, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Roberts, if you're unwilling to do that, Miss Sotomayor, Mr. Kavanaugh, if you're unwilling to do that, Miss Jackson Brown or Mr. Alito, if you're unwilling to do that, then by your failure to enforce, by your failure to ensure the supremacy of Article 3, your institution doesn't exist anymore. Because if these state courts are more powerful than you are, then that means you have no power. You will have ceded it back to those states, and the states will have reclaimed the rights that the central government failed to uphold. So central government here, United States of America, all you congressmen, all you senators, you judges, you justices, you fucking president, all you guys, you got one job here, and that's to defend the Constitution of the United States. And if you guys don't have the courage to do it, if you guys can't actually do your job and defend the one thing that you were instituted to defend, then by your failure to defend it, I'm going to tell you right now, y'all lost your job. You don't have a position anymore. There's no United States of America. There's no Washington, D.C. This building is just a fucking lie. It's an illusion. It's not real. Same thing with the court across the street. They're not the Supreme Court of anything because they don't make rulings that all the courts have to follow because they're nothing, right? Their rulings are mean absolutely nothing because these states, they can do whatever the hell they want to do anytime that they want to do it. And you justices, you're unwilling to actually step up and make sure that your workers actually obey the very laws that you must obey, right? This is how the states reclaim their power. This is how the people reclaim their power. Because if this central government is unwilling to stand up and defend the one thing that makes America, America doesn't exist anymore. So I'm going to challenge all of you. Every single one of you took an oath, same oath that I took, to step up, discharge the duties of your office, fulfill the obligations and promises that you made to the people of the United States, and enforce the fucking Constitution of the United States. Because if you can't, then your failure to do so means that you're going to have ceded your power back to states, and we're going to destroy this country, right? There will not be an America anymore. We will be back to a Confederacy in the same state that we were 243 years ago. I don't want to see that happening. But I'm only one oath taker out of thousands and thousands, right? We all need to step up. We need to decide. Are we men and women of honor? Are we going to do the things that we say we're going to do? And if we are, then awesome. Let's defend the Constitution of the United States. If we're not, then let's go ahead and tell the American people, 330 million people, that what they believe in is not real. and good luck getting home that night. All right. Please continue to like, follow, share. Please comment if you can. Guys, donate. We need money. Guys, I can't do this without your help, guys. I'm out here. I'm serving these states. I'm moving around. We're leaving Washington, D.C. right now. We're heading back west. We've got a press conference next week that we're gonna be doing. I hope that it's gonna be a huge success, but this is all about God. Guys, we're right. 100%. There's no denying it. The Constitution of the United States says that you guys were entitled to something that 700,000 people currently in prison didn't receive, that 2.9 million people weren't given and afforded the benefit of the very proceeding that exists for that protection. I'm going to get you all home. I'm going to get you home. But you guys got to rally behind me, right? You got to let me have this argument for you. You guys got to stop talking about your issue and start talking about this issue that affects all of you. Right? This isn't about me winning anything. This is about you winning something. Guys, I want the American people to win here. That's what this is about. You guys deserve this win, and I'm ready to argue this for you. I'm ready to do this on your behalf, but I can't do it without your help, guys. I need you guys to help support this. I need you guys to get behind this. I have Cash App, I have Chime, I have Venmo, I have PayPal. They're all exactly the same, guys. It's We Shall Be Free. That's WESHALLBEFREE. I can't do this without your help, man. Right? I'm out here. I'm doing this. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. I'm doing it because I love my country. I'm doing it because I love all of you, and I need you guys to get behind me because we've got some very significant steps that we've got to take here. We've got travel expenses. We've got hotel fees. We've got food. I need you guys to get behind me and support me on this. If you guys believe in this, if this message is something that's resonated with you, then please get out there, donate to this cause, help me help you, get your family members back home or you back home, and together we shall be free. All right. I love you guys so much. Again, please like, follow, share, please comment. We need these videos to move a lot faster. We got to find a way to break through this algorithm. And I don't know exactly how that is. I don't know how it's going to work. But guys, we got to figure out how to get this message moving because this message is too powerful. It's too complete. We have shut this government up. All of these guys are scared of me, right? Scared of what I'm doing. Guys, you know that this is working. Right? When we have DOJ come out and write a memo that goes out to Grassley that says I'm right, every judge is unconstitutional, every decision that they made is unconstitutional. Where do you think that started from, guys? Right? Where do you think that started from? Where do you think the pressure to make that happen came from? It couldn't have came from going out and serving 42 state attorney generals and 42 state Supreme Courts with actual notifications of criminal acts that their agents are committing. Couldn't have came from that, right? Guys, what I'm doing is working. Believe in it. Get behind it, right? Because the sooner you get behind it, the sooner I'm going to get you guys back home, all right? Love you guys so much. Please continue to like, follow, share, and together we shall be free. Have a great rest of your day, guys. God bless.